Hi guys, it's Weeded, and this is a very unusual project for me. One is because it's one of the two pictures of me and my father that I have as adults, and this just came into my possession a week ago. I've got a digital copy of it now, but I don't put pictures of me up. And this was taken on my wedding day. The fabric that I'm using for the background is significant for a couple of reasons. One, my maiden name had the root Rose in it, and my father's nickname was Rosie. This is also the same fabric that I made my very first skirt in 3rd grade, just your standard elastic waist skirt. So the fabric has some meaning for me as on several different levels, and so do most of the items that I use in this video. I adhered the fabric with double stick tape, and then I'm just taping it down, making sure to pull it taut, trim the corners so that it will fold over neatly. And I play around with a ton of laces. A lot of the laces, or the primary laces that I use in this video, are actually laces that are they're vintage. I hate to admit that because they're my age or older, and they came from my mother's sewing stash that she gave me. Now this is a bit of silk kimono fabric that I'm cutting, and Japan was the first country that, as a military brat, I lived in. It still has a very special place in my heart, so this green silk kimono fabric just seemed like the perfect thing to use to complement the pink roses and to tone it down. I've mentioned before, I'm not a real pink person, nor am I'm not a person to put pictures of myself up there. My husband was actually very shocked when he saw me doing this. He was very happy about it, but he knew this is very unusual for me to do. So this is a bit of what I call self-love, because it's stepping out of my comfort zone, but it's celebrating my relationship with my father. It's celebrating my marriage. We've been married for over 30 years, and my heritage as well, because it seems to be all wrapped up in this one piece. And you can tell I'm resizing things. I had no actual plan for this canvas, so you'll see it's a little choppy in places where I'm not making you sit through how should I try this lace, and then should I try that lace, and what should go here, and everything kind of just, okay, I like this, I'm gonna leave it, and then let's see what happens next. So I don't have a master plan for it. I did use very heavy-duty double stick tape on the fabric, that way I didn't have to worry about glue coming through. And I did use pretty much an entire bottle, little tiny bottle of matte medium, but I'm not worried about that because I refill those bottles from a larger one. So, and I don't know if you can tell in this picture, my dad's looking at me and I'm looking down. I just had no idea this picture existed until a very good friend gave it to me 2 weeks ago now, because I'm a little behind in my editing, so this is about a week old, and maybe even a little bit older than that. But this is the first bit of lace that is vintage and came from my mother, so I knew that I really wanted that lace in there, and I had an idea that I wanted it in a couple places. This is just some lace, some thin lace that I bought in a bulk lace purchase off of eBay, and it's a very nice, delicate lace. So I wanted that to kind of maybe trim some of that green. I didn't want to leave raw edges, and maybe that's a hangover from sewing, you know, no raw edges, every edge finished. But I had trouble with the matte medium at first, so I got some out of the bottle, and then I just applied it with a skewer to go along, and that really worked very well. Later on, I resort to having it come straight out of the bottle, but the bamboo skewer method was definitely very helpful at this point with this particular lace. The green trim that you'll see me use and the rose trim that you'll see me use a little bit later on, both of those came from Paper Mart. Now, this is not a sponsored video, and I'm not affiliated with them in any way. It's just they are gorgeous trims, and they do still have them. Those are fairly recent purchases. So yeah, there's the green trim that I'm talking about. It's actually got little roses in it. So as you can imagine, roses were huge in my family, and wherever we moved, we did plant roses. So I wanted to make sure that I did not obscure, when I was covering this canvas with lace, I wanted to make sure that I did not obscure a lot of those roses. So I knew there was going to be a lot of lace on it, but I still wanted that fabric to show through, since it had so much history and meaning for me. I could have done a grungy project. I could have done one of my favorite things, and that is to tone something down using gesso, but I didn't want to do any of that. I really wanted this to be, I won't say simple or uncomplicated, because it gets complicated with all the lace layers in it, but I didn't want to take away from the elements that I was using themselves. So in here I'm just securing it down with a little bit more matte medium. The matte medium worked beautifully. It dried matte, it dried clear. It really was a great idea for this. So there I've got that wide pink lace that I know I want to use in several places, and I do actually end up using it along the base. And then this leafy lace is also some of the vintage lace from my mother's stash of sewing supplies, and I thought it went perfectly with the roses and the green kimono silk fabric. So I knew I wanted to use it, I just didn't know how I wanted to use it at that point. So here I am bordering, and you can see me try to make sure, okay, which way does the lace go? That gets tricky at times. So I kept double checking it. The last thing I wanted to do was stick the lace down wrong side up. So, and I pretty well saturated that piece. You'll see later, I wanted to do something else, and I sort of had to adjust a little bit, because that piece was glued. It was stuck, well stuck. This was an exciting piece for me to do, because again, this is a bit of self-love for me, to actually put my picture out there, and by out there I mean in our house, and to just honor my relationship with my father and celebrate my marriage with my husband. I'm a very quiet, private person, and this, though, felt really good to do. And I love that I was able to incorporate the lace from my mother and the fabric from my childhood. The fabric is not the exact same from the Bolt. It's a Tanya Whelan design, I believe, it's a classic design. And I had some on hand because I wanted to incorporate it into a quilt that I want to make for myself, and I'll get a little more into that, which it's kind of odd that there's pink in it, but it's more going to be rose and teal, and I'll have a video later a little bit about the quilt, but more about something else I'm doing for myself. Again, February, self-love, just honoring oneself and all the good things that are in our lives and taking care of ourselves. So my husband was really very surprised that I did this piece. He loves it. I didn't know how he would feel about it. I wasn't worried about it. He's extremely supportive. We were married. We did celebrate our 30th anniversary in January of this year. Here I'm gluing some roses down, and you see that big old honking pink rose up there? I end up moving that because I decided it was too heavy. But anyway, we've been married 30 years together, a little over 34. I did start dating him in high school. So, and he is a fellow teacher, and he's also a craftsperson. I had to edit a good bit of this video out because I went and got him and say, hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? How should I do? In fact, I pulled him in over the debate over this big honking pink rose in the corner, and we both agreed. In fact, we have the same style. I guess that happens a lot when you grow up together practically. But he agreed with me on virtually every decision. And see there, I replace it with this little itty bitty pink flower. Again, I think that came from Paper Mart as well. Again, that's Lindsay Wyrick, the Frugal Crafter, an enabler. She's the one that acquainted me with Paper Mart, and I've purchased quite a few things. I do love their products. They seem to be, they're not carrying some of the stuff that I really like anymore. So they had square rhinestones that were perfect for like small little mosaics, and I'm glad I got a bunch when I did, because those seem to have disappeared. But I like that green trim, and I do decide to put it downside. I don't know if you can see the roses that go down the middle of the leaves there, but I felt like I wanted the green trim coming down, and that was actually my husband's idea. I knew something else needed to go right there, and he's the one that told me that he felt like the green trim needed to go down alongside the pearl string that I put there. And I apologize for the traffic today. It's unusually heavy. I should say I'm home. It's a holiday, and I'm home after a procedure I just had on my neck that hopefully will give me some relief. So I'm looking forward to that. But I have managed to find some crafting projects that I can do even when I'm having kind of maybe not the greatest day. And I'll have a video on that coming out very soon. And it's another February self-love thing. Both my husband and I have been through so so much in the past few years with ailing parents and different things, but it feels good for us to be taking care of ourselves and each other. Now, as you can see, I drug out all the lace. I've been playing with what do I want to put here, what do I want to put there. As I said, I didn't have a master plan, but I like the way the leaves framed the fabric, and this is where I'm saying, man, did I ever stick that pink down, because I was hoping to tuck the leaf lace underneath, and yeah, that wasn't going to happen. So I sort of had to improvise there and make it work, which it did, and I think it turned out just fine. So, but I do like the leaf framing the fabric, and the fact that the lace was leaves, just, I don't know, it just all seemed to work. I didn't go out and buy anything special. I just, when my good friend Wilda handed me this picture, she had been the director at my wedding, and it had actually been held in her home. When she handed me this photo, I literally cried, because the only other photo I know of that I am in with my father as an adult is a college graduation photo. So I just was so thrilled to have this picture of us, and I did want to do something special as a result. I do think I may take a picture of, say, our ancestors, and maybe do one that's a little more aged, a little more grungy, but I felt for this wedding photo, I didn't want that. I didn't want that. And I didn't want the, as I said before, the lace to cover up the roses. I didn't want to completely obliterate the green kimono fabric either. So it presented a few composition challenges, but in the end, I just love this. It means so much to me, and this is not my thing. I have never done a fabric canvas before, so this was something completely new, and it was just a wonderful, joyous time working on it, and I get warm fuzzies every time I look at the end result. And a lot of this is probably because not only did I work on it, but my husband worked on it too. I kept going back and asking his opinion. What do you think about this? Or what do you think about that? And he's just surprised that not only did I make it, but I actually have it up in the house. I don't scrapbook. It's something I would love to do, truthfully, but it's not something that I do. And I have had many memories that maybe are not so positive. I don't think I've had any really bad memories. Okay, maybe a few. But it's not like my childhood is any worse than anybody else's. My husband had probably the perfect childhood, so he was a great man to help me deal with some of my insecurities that did result from some things that happened when I was growing up. There's more matte medium to really glue that down. I was afraid of bulk in doing this, and mainly because I had that green trim and then the pearls, which are a little bit bulky, but used in moderation, they did not create a problem, and it was not an issue. But I would love for you guys to go out and get a picture that means something special to you. It can be a picture of a dog, a favorite pet, a parent, a child, a significant other, somebody who is influential in your life, and honor your relationship by making some type. It doesn't have to be a canvas like this. It can be a scrapbooking page. It can be a page in your journal. But this was a lot of fun, and this was very feel good. It was a very feel good process, and every time I look at it, I feel good. Now this is the rose trim that also came from Paper Mart, and there I am. I was playing with it to see where I wanted it. I realized my picture needed a frame, so I used the rose pearls, listen to me. I used the pearl trim around the picture frame to finish it off, so I didn't have any, again, raw edges. But this particular trim, and again, it comes from Paper Mart, and they've got two different kinds. I love this trim, but you have to be careful because those sneaky little flowers, well, the lace will twist on you. Okay, that trim will twist on you, and you'll have the right side of one rose facing up, and then you'll have the wrong side of the next rose facing up if you're not careful. And you can see I'm sitting there, I'm playing with it, and this one I glued with matte medium. Not the way to go. That's not the way to do this kind of trim. It took me a while. It moved around on me. It didn't dry quickly enough. I fought this, and I eliminated. I didn't want you to see the whole laborious struggle of me fighting this, but just let me say, don't do matte medium on a trim like this where you've got little bits and pieces and it's twisty or anything else. I will show you in a minute what I used, because I use this trim again. I really like the trim, but yeah, here I go trying to use the matte medium. I've got the roses wrong side down, and I'm trying to get glue on all those leaves. I switched to the Tombow, which doesn't dry matte, but at this point I wasn't worried about it. I was just trying to get something that would stick, and it was a fight. It was honestly just a nightmare. The whole project went fairly smoothly, except this one piece of trim. And I use it later on, and I've decided that the new love of my life is extra strength spray adhesive, because I took that over to, I've got a little spray box that I use. I made sure that it was on, my trim was on a piece of clean paper, and I had it all lined up so that it was all wrong side up. Sprayed it with lace, I sprayed it with that spray adhesive, stuck it on the canvas, and we were good to go. Because really and truly, that bottom piece of trim, that probably took me close to 30 minutes. The pearl trim was probably the next fiddliest. Again, the matte medium, it didn't dry as quickly as I would have liked, but it did dry matte, it did dry clear, so it worked very well for that. And you can see me lining it up there, and see how I'm having to pull back layers and do things. And this is because there was no planning. I just did this. Whatever felt like needed to be the next step, that's what I did. So sometimes I had to back up a little bit, but in the past, a project like this probably would have taken me days. Do a little bit, see how it looks. Do another little bit, see how it looks. What does it need now? At least now, because I've been doing, I've done enough mixed media and I've done enough different things that I can say, okay, let's try this and let's try that. And a lot of times what I do is I gather all my materials that I think I'm going to want to use, and I may not use them all. There were some lace trims that I didn't. Okay, there you go. That top piece, spray adhesive. I wish I had discovered that earlier. I don't think I would have wanted to use it on everything, but that, yes, spray adhesive. And we're just about done with this. Again, that rose trim, Paper Mart. They've got some other that's gorgeous. Paper Mart. There we go. Haha, see? Yeah. I wanted to share that. It's my new best friend when it comes to mixed media. And there we have the rose trim on top of the vintage laces. I'm super happy with how this turned out. I will have some more entries for February self-love. Okay. I do hope that you will take a photograph and honor it, honor what it stands for. It's very rewarding. It's very fulfilling. And I love this. Thank you so much for being here with me today and for sharing this. And have an absolutely fantabulous day or evening. Bye-bye.